Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of The Aftermath. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Dylan. How are you, my
I
friend?
wasn't expecting the wind-up.
Well, you know, I really needed to take a break before I jump into this episode.
For those who couldn't see, that being all of you,
Yes.
Ian, before he started this episode with the usual intro, fucking raised his hand like he was
Yep.
about to smite the ant on the counter.
But to make a decree. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I don't think I'm ready for this one.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, tell the audience what you just told me.
Okay.
I hope you're ready for...
So, I am about to gush about how much I love Transformers for the next hour.
So just buckle up.
Either that or just under an hour, it depends.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure to anyone who's seen some of our previous episodes, we're no strangers to the bots
Right.
that transform. They hold a special place in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up with them.
Yeah.
Such as many a child did, I'm sure.
Of course. Especially in our age demographic, yeah.
Dude, it's prime real estate. Back in the fucking 90s, I was all about them.
Of course.
This movie scratched that itch. It hit all the marks for me. Now, normally that isn't the case because in like some of the other films, it's either been like just comparisons between the original and like the Bay films because that's all we got.
Of course.
But man,
It's a new era.
that dude came back.
Yep.
With motherfucking Spielberg.
Yep.
In tow and just
So for those of you,
constructed this map.
just like the previous episode of the podcast where we watched a very recent film, I will do the same thing. I'll give this movie the same treatment.
Right.
We're watching a very recent movie called Transformers 1. Came out this year, actually, which is probably the most
brand spanking new.
which is probably the most recent film we watched.
Yeah, you don't get that often when you come to us.
Exactly. So for anybody who hasn't seen it, just know that for the next hour, not only is he going to gush about Transformers, we will also most likely be spoiling the main plot of that movie.
Be warned.
If you haven't watched it, I definitely would recommend watching it. Another thing I like to do here at the top of the podcast as of recently is thank all the people that have been listening and tuning in and leaving comments and getting involved. There are more new listeners than I was imagining, and that's exciting and kind of scary and kind of cool.
Right.
All
I'm
the same.
nervous.
And so I just want to say thank you for listening. A lot of you guys, whether it be on Spotify or on YouTube, you're not subscribed or you're not following us, so I definitely recommend doing that so you can keep up to date on when we drop our episodes. It's every Friday.
Yeah. We appreciate your ears.
Exactly. And so just, give us a like. Let us know how you feel about the show and what you want us to watch or what you're feeling like. And with all that out the way, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn it over to Dylan because apparently he has a whole lot to say.
All right, so do you know...
So there's robots.
Right. There's sentient robo-beings. Robo-beings, if you would.
On a sentient robot planet.
Yeah, you ever heard of Bionicle?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
But different.
Right. So what do you remember of the original, progenitor storyline for the series?
Not a whole lot. Because I think they, at least from what I remember, the original movie that I watched, it starts off with him already being Prime,
right?
And it
it's
already
in the
established
middle of the series.
Yeah, it automatically starts off with Megatron being the big bad, and he's got his band of misfits and all that.
Funnily enough, that's how the original show starts as well.
Okay,
they give you a brief synopsis of where we're at and what's the situation.
Yeah,
and then they just elaborate on that later on in some of the other seasons. But the one that I've decided to roll with for the most part is the timeline of Orion Pax being a librarian.
Okay.
Who, in meeting Megatron, or I can't remember if he went by it was Megatronus, yeah.
Okay.
So he went by Megatronus, fought as a gladiator in the pits of Chaon.
There you go.
And was not too satisfied with his life, as most would imagine. So he had already started building up this movement to make a change for the better.
Yeah.
Of course, he was a bit more violent later down the line, which Orion then was like, maybe I shouldn't
Yeah, maybe I
throw
shouldn't
my
be,
lot in
you
with
know,
this guy. He's kind of just
maybe he's not as good as I thought he was.
killing people left and right.
Yeah.
But after which he is made a prime, because initially Megatronus like goes to the Council of the Primes and tries to make an appeal.
Yeah.
But of course he comes off as like super bloodthirsty and like, I'm going to be a despot.
Yeah.
Give me full control. Whereas Orion is like, whoa.
Yeah. Hey.
Wait a second now.
Yeah.
And then he like takes over and like puts the terms a bit more amicably than
Right.
than the
A
big
little more
bad himself would.
softly, yeah.
Yeah. After which Megatronus sees this as a betrayal because they make Optimus a prime afterwards. So that's the beginnings.
That's like the original show, like the original plot line.
It's one that they developed later down the line. It's not like the very like original version of it. It's just the one that I like.
Mm-hmm.
But
that was the canon until now,
right?
Because you better believe this is a cash cow now.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is a freshly
decades.
This is a freshly dead horse, and they're gonna beat this shit until it stops producing money. I just already saw it right now. I was like, the animation was so good. They got this star-studded cast full of people. Mm-hmm. You're like starting off with like the beginnings of Transformers, so you can guarantee they're going to cash in on 3 to 5.
The Rebirth.
Yeah, 3 to 5 movies at the minimum is what I'm thinking.
Oh yeah.
And again, because you're not you're paying actors, but like I wouldn't be surprised because you're not actually filming anything. I actually don't know before I open my big mouth and say things.
Where's
that
the
true.
money?
That's what I'm saying. Okay. Now these are not probably full numbers, but let's see. Well, not that one. Mm-hmm. Okay, come on now, help me out here, please. I need you to. Okay,
afraid we're experiencing technical difficulties.
And this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. I was about to open my big mouth, and I was about to be 100% right.
Yeah.
The thing I was going to say is it because you don't have film crews, because you're not shooting on location,
it's going to be significantly cheaper.
Right. It's all animation. I know that animation can be really expensive sometimes.
Arduous in its own right.
Special effects can be really, but I almost can guarantee that like it's not nearly as expensive as a Marvel movie per se.
Right.
But you have all of you have a handful of voices
More
from
than a few,
the Marvel movies or that are of that echelon. Mm-hmm. The budget for Transformers 1 that just released was reportedly only $75 million. That is
God.
I want you to just know.
I'm not used to hearing only after that number.
Because just to put it in perspective,
compared to like most other films,
compared to anything made recently, $375 million is like an average budget.
Right.
So for it being less than $100 million, like damn, that's cheap. Mm-hmm. And the fact that I'm almost certain that opening weekend made $25 million.
Not bad.
And I think grossing worldwide is $128 million.
Hot damn.
So, anyways, what I'm trying to say is that I'm pretty sure this is gonna be, their new
right
plaything for a while, which is okay. And of course, you better guarantee they're gonna be selling them toys, merchandise.
That's the main draw, baby.
T-shirts, gotcha, all of it. Action figures,
right? Nothing but.
Oh yeah, but that doesn't have to correlate directly with the movie per se.
I like this story.
Yeah. The story is nice, and that was what I was saying was that now that this is kind of the new canon moving forward, this is the. He shrugged his shoulders and went. Meh.
There are enough different like iterations you could pick and choose.
What I'm saying is like with what I'm meaning is.
It's probably what most people are going to point to. As far as a
new age has begun. You have the old timeline and then the new timeline of or what is it like in the Godzilla films? Showa,
Jesus.
in the Showa era, and you have the
Millennium.
you have the classic era, and then you have the modern era
Right.
of Transformers. Where,
gotcha.
where what I'm saying is like the reason I'm saying all this is like, do you feel good that this is like the new starting ground to get new young people into the Transformers
I think it's
universe?
I think it's a good starting point. They stay true to most of the characters,
Right.
like in general. They did Optimus great. That
Oh, yeah.
Megatron ended up fucking perfect.
Oh yeah.
Like those are the only two I care about.
Okay.
Because I love the dichotomy of the two. They're
I'm
my
glad.
favorite.
I'm glad you
characters.
said that because I have some choice words.
yeah. Please go ahead.
Okay, you want me to start now?
Yeah.
Hold on, wait. Let's just before we uncork this madness.
Right.
We're only 10 minutes in. I can't do it now. Come on.
Okay. Fine. We'll start.
I agree with you. I liked the way they handled the dichotomy of Optimus Prime and Megatron, which go by different names in the beginning of this film, because this is obviously their like their
new start.
Right, this is the new start to it all.
They keep Orion Pax as his original name.
Yeah.
But they give Megatronus D16, which comes across as more like a regular model number as opposed to like an actual name. I'm sure it stood for something else, maybe like, well, no, because B was just B also.
Well,
he
was B14
127
or B127.
Yeah.
And then what was Alita's name?
Alita 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Who knows? There's probably a reference somewhere to it. They may mean something.
Who's to say?
Yeah, but I agree with you. I liked their characters. They handled them well.
Oh yeah.
I initially I didn't recognize who he was.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm also I wasn't being super observant, and I think they played him off casually enough that I forgot that I was like, oh,
right.
Like
to your average Joe, it's just gonna look like, oh, it's just his friend or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But to me, I'm like, oh my fucking god.
Yeah. The thing that got me is that like, of course, he makes a reference to like this decal of Megatronus Prime, which in this timeline, this iteration of the story,
right?
There was, what was it, 12? So, or how many?
I want to say 13.
13 primes.
I'm not sure.
And they all, like, of course, had like different, vibes about them or whatever. But Megatronus had like, the decal was obviously like of his face,
head,
his face shape,
which is just straight up the Decepticon logo,
which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, it's pretty cool. And it was B's. No, I'm sorry, not B. D. What was it?
16.
D16. It was like his
absolute favorite,
right? And so the fact that he like mocks him with this like iridescent, cool, collectible decal,
condition.
In this like train ride over to work, he was like, "Oh, bro," So he ends up.
They're such good friends.
I was saying he puts it on his.
It makes it so fucking sad.
He puts it on like the flat part of his shoulder, and then like for the first time, like when like you see that transpire where he gets the decal on him, and like it zooms back out, and I see the fact that he's like an all gray, like all light and gunmetal gray robot with like yellow orange eyes with the Decepticon logo on his shoulder. I was like, and of course they're like, yeah, we got each other's backs, best buds, and like they dap each other up, and I was like,
for
oh,
the first
shit.
of many times in this film,
Yeah,
they kept that shit consistent,
right?
Like, and dude, it's we'll get there
right.
God damn,
it is. I think that. Before I go off on a tangent, before you go off on your tangent, before we get into the weeds, everything, I think that for a movie that may lean more towards a younger audience, I think that it was a fun and I think it was a well-paced movie. It kept my attention. And this is all speaking just from me personally. It kept my attention. I think it was easy to understand, like the plot. For me, I think that at a certain point, before we really get into that second act, I could already see where it was going.
Oh yeah,
it was a bit predictable, but I also I'm not docking points for it because it is kind of it is an animated. I don't want to say children's film, but it is an animated children.
Right.
You
can show it to your kids, but if you like Transformers growing up, you'll probably like it too.
The only thing I was really surprised with was like some of the language.
Oh yeah.
He says badass a lot, and I was like,
Right.
for a movie that is technically PG,
Right.
like he said badass.
We
like
got screwed. We got
yeah,
hell.
yeah. We got don't be a glitch, and I was like, that's a nice little subtle like.
Dude,
I won't. Don't you be a glitch? And I was like, hell
I
yeah.
fucking love the pseudo like cursing,
which is kind of
they have their own version of.
right. But I was like, but the funny thing is like there was one time where like he says it like 4 or 5 times in a row, and I was like, is that? Are we saying that? Are we in a? Are we in a? Are we
Is
in
that
a,
okay?
Are we in a timeline now where like that's okay to say in a PG movie? I was like, I guess so, but it's weird. I was like, I never knew that because I was like, when I was a kid, I thought that like any kind of bad words was
Ass
PG-13.
was off limits.
I thought that I thought ass was 100% off limits until you were in a PG-13 setting. Then you got ass for days.
No holds barred.
Yeah.
Could even throw a stupid in there and it'd be okay.
Tits even.
Right. Ass. Tits even.
Oh man. So
it's
that
PG-13. Who cares?
Yeah, right. So anyways, that was what kind of got me was a little bit of that, you know.
Right.
But what I was but as we're getting the like characters set up, and we're going through that first act of like build up and who's who and what's where and that kind of whole vibe.
Yeah.
And then we kind of start to get the characters like really parsed out and who they are. Is when for me it got predictable.
Yeah.
And when I hedged a bet on what I thought the outcome was going to be.
Right.
Because I think some of it was also helped by the fact that I knew
they lay out the pieces of the puzzle, but there's some pretty fucking big pieces.
You're right. You're right. Because again, like I was saying before, I know I may not be a diehard Transformers fan, but I do know a pretty good amount.
You know
of it.
enough.
I know Optimus Prime and Megatron,
right?
And then I know that they have their like ragtag bands of misfits on either side.
Dude.
So the second I start to meet them, I was like, okay, so I already know that, like potentially. By the end of this movie, we're going to see a split between Megatron and Optimus Prime.
Right.
That's an easy bet.
Uh-huh.
The bet that I went out on was that, what's the
Sentinel Crime.
Yes, a Sentinel Prime or Sentinel Crime.
Yeah.
Sentinel Crime, that's good. Sentinel Prime, there was something nefarious there.
Right.
And it
He's
felt
touted
like
as like their savior. The only reason Cybertron is still like habitable at all.
Right.
But in his mannerisms and way of speaking, you could almost assume that he's
a bit cocky, and it comes across as a bit snarky,
almost
and
disingenuous.
Yeah, it has that kind of
patronizing tones.
Yes, I was gonna say pompous. Like it has that kind of
definitely.
Yeah, it has that air about it where it you know what it has. It has the Farquaad effect.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit of like
the
I'm willing to make some of you are not going to make it out of this alive, and
it's a sacrifice.
And that's a sacrifice. That's the kind of vibe it has,
right.
Where it's like we don't know a whole lot about the character, but just from those little interactions, you're like, oh, you're shitty.
Right.
That just is what
not
it
a
is.
big fan of you, buddy.
Yeah. So with some of his interactions, it comes across that way where you're like, okay. So for me, like I said, we're not even really like knee deep in this movie yet.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I have a suspicion that Sentinel Prime, knows what was the core called?
The Matrix of Leadership.
The Matrix of Leadership, which is what Optimus. All right, I'm going to call that because that's what I'm doing, man. Right now.
Yeah.
Optimus is trying to help find that. So, like in the beginning of the movie, he's like looking through all these archives and finding out some things because he's trying to be a good citizen and also kind of like a pseudo hero where he's like, maybe I can help out and do something
at the very least, which is funny because he wanted it. Like it's crazy the juxtaposition between the two, which I'm always a big fan of.
Yeah.
Orion Pax would do things like this, but in a more like reserved manner. He wouldn't be like breaking into places or looking for every kind of clue imaginable.
Right.
He would definitely advocate for it.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't go out of his way to like do it on his own.
Right.
Whereas fucking Megatronus would have done that shit like multiple times already.
Okay.
Like he'd have been way more gung ho, which is funny because D16 is not.
Yeah.
He is completely content
Yeah.
to just keep slaving away in the mines,
Yeah.
hoping that one day the Matrix will return.
Right. For me, it kind of gave me the sense that gosh, I can't remember. Optimus. It gave me the air that he was like this young spirit.
Oh yeah.
It didn't feel nefarious. It felt just like he has this fire.
Rambunctious.
Yeah, he has this gung ho attitude, and he's like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna make it happen, and I will ask for forgiveness, not for permission.
Reckless instinct, one might say.
Exactly. And so,
what the hell was that little side eye for? What was that?
One of my moments in this movie was because of that whole
okay,
discussion.
okay,
That's what. Anyways,
Yeah.
I didn't know if you were I didn't know if you were giving me a jab or not.
Nah,
you're
bro.
you're poking the beast. I thought. Anyways, no,
Son,
I'm playing.
that's just how he is.
Yeah. So it gives him this kind of like this air of like youthfulness in a way. Again, I always see Optimus Prime as like this
Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
I always see him as this like wise leader.
Oh yeah,
Or
definitely.
like, or
when
like
I
you
say,
said,
I was talking about like
right.
Yeah, before he gets
exactly. So it feels like okay, like this is our like our firecracker young character that's going to grow into this kind
into
of
the
wise,
cool dad that everyone wishes they had.
Yeah, 100%. So anyways, he's trying to help find this matrix of leadership. So he's like looking through archives, he's doing things, he's getting into trouble.
Oh yeah.
So he's trying to do all this to like help find this. So our guy Sentinel Prime, his whole like story that comes across as a bit like fake and one-sided is he's like, we're going onto the surface and we're fighting.
Dangerous.
It's I'm so tired.
Risking my life
for the people. And it's like, okay, are you really?
All right.
And then he's like, but I come back empty-handed. I don't have the matrix of leadership, and it's been 50 cycles.
Right.
Which
we can assume is equal to 50 years.
Exactly.
Half a century.
So it's been 50 years, and he has no sight of it, and all the other primes are dead. He's the only one.
Right.
So for me, and again,
sole survivor.
So he's like I said. So for me, it's kind of giving me this like,
yeah, just rubbing you the wrong way.
Right. Again, like I said, it just adult mind where you're like, okay, enough context clues are placed now. We're like,
it's like, wow, this guy's so nice. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. You mean to tell me that all other 12 of them are dead?
Yeah.
And you're the only survivor?
How did you get out of there?
And you're going up there and you're like, quote unquote, working so hard to find it, and you still can't find it after 50 years.
Scouring the globe, are you?
And it's like,
50 fucking years,
I don't know,
bro.
my guy. Something doesn't smell right.
You don't even have a piece of it.
You don't even have an idea of where to go.
Right.
So it's
I'm about to die.
Yeah.
Where is it?
And then it doesn't help that like all the other like quote unquote like lesser Autobots, miners, or I guess they're like other robots on this world are relegated to mining
because they're cogless.
Yes,
they have no transformation cog.
Right.
Therefore, they are lower class.
Yeah. And they're the wells of life have run dry. So now you have to mine it in the earth, and it's a very dangerous job. You're overworked.
Rock and stone.
Underpaid. Yeah. And it's almost slave labor. It's what it comes across as. Yeah. And so whenever you have this pompous, gilded,
right,
larger than life figure walk down here, is like,
over
you doing the good of the colony,
right?
And
industrious
it's like,
miners.
Like, is that? Anyways, I'm dragging this out.
Yeah.
It gets to a point where you're like, something feels a little shady.
Right, fuck you, Sentinel.
And I will say I coined it.
Oh,
I mean, not to the T, but I definitely was like, something is not
something's
happening.
fishy about this guy.
And so this is where we're roughly at the point in time in the movie where we run into B. And
what a kooky little character.
He is voiced by Keegan, I believe.
Yes.
Is that his proper name?
Keegan-Michael Key.
Keegan-Michael Key. Very funny.
Mhm.
There's a couple of lines that really got me.
Yeah.
Because Keegan does such comes across as so effortless in his dialogue.
Oh, yeah.
The stammering and the stuttering feels so natural.
Oh, yeah. He does it perfectly.
And it comes across so funny. So like there was one line in this opening sequence that we've seen him whenever they ask him how long has he been down here, and he goes, "Oh, I mean sometime between a long time and forever."
Right.
And he stammers in such a way and says it with just a quickness enough that it got me. I was like, "Damn, that's funny."
Steve.
Yeah. Oh man, because this is a movie that is rated PG.
Mm-hmm. There's got to be some kind of comic relief.
Yes, there has to be some sort of comic relief, but this movie is not exempt from what I consider modern animated film comedy.
Oh yeah,
where it comes across as cringe sometimes. There's
Yeah,
there's a few lines of dialogue. There's a few things
Uh-huh.
that like even like some of the Marvel movies kind of has that like level of like
Oh, do they ever?
it's modern comedy
Mm-hmm.
and it really sticks out in modern animation.
Yeah.
A lot of like the Despicable Me stuff. A lot of the,
God, we do not speak that name.
What I'm saying is like I know, but it's other what is that studio called that makes that? Imagination, I think is what it's called.
I think so, yeah.
They have a whole bunch of them. Modern DreamWorks movies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say that Disney's exempt either, but it just kind of has this like, am I right? And it's like it just has that kind of vibe about it, and it's like, it's almost like they tell a joke and then do the like.
Wink.
Do you see?
Right.
Do you see? I made a joke.
Wow.
And it's like right, and it's
Yeah,
like, oh
fucking
god, it's just
Jesus Christ.
maybe I'm wrong, but I felt like children's comedy was a little less on the nose.
Right.
I feel like like I said, I feel like sometimes they tell a joke and they just like beat you over the head with it.
Right.
You're like,
Have a
are
fucking
you
neon
laughing
sign
yet?
pointing at the
Are you
punchline.
laughing yet?
Yeah.
It's not that egregious in this movie, but there was a couple times,
Oh yeah.
especially with B's character, that he has a couple of lines or that he does
walks a fine line between cringe and base.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh man, buddy. I will say it gets better as the movie goes on.
Oh yeah.
Once we get past like Act 2 and like the action starts setting in is when the characters start, I think, locking in a bit more.
Oh yeah. They start developing into their final forms.
They become a little more serious because it's less comedic,
Mm-hmm.
which I think works. Because I think whenever they were leaning into the comedy of it, it was like, it's
Right. Okay.
Okay,
All right,
okay.
let's move along with the story now. How about?
Man, I mean, I hesitate to continue.
I mean, you were getting to that point.
Okay.
Feel free.
Let
loose the dam.
I have some really choice words.
About who?
About a number of characters, but
but I think there's one in particular.
There's one in particular. Every character had redeeming qualities.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There was a lot to love about
This is
lot
the fluff before the disaster.
Yes, yeah. I'm doing exactly what the character did. I'm being nice before I'd be really mean, before I'd be really nice.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Going back to B, like I said, there were some moments that were cringy in it. There were some moments that were kind of like hard for me to really, but I also try to like give it the benefit of the doubt that he is the kind of the comic relief, the punching bag character.
Right.
And this is a movie geared towards younger audiences, so it's okay if it's not super, not super likable.
Right.
Because people hated Jar Jar, and that's what Jar Jar was, once upon a time. So it's like, I think that, and I think that Keegan did a great job voicing the character.
Oh, yeah.
Very funny. Like I said, did a wonderful job.
You cannot deny the performance.
100%. I felt like Elita, how do I put this in the nicest way
If
possible?
I may quote.
No. Before you continue, because
okay.
I do want you to quote me, because I want to hear what I had to say. But I want to say, what?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I want to say that Elita feels like they wrote a character for the people specifically, maybe I'm wrong. I don't want to gender anybody. For the people in the audience.
For you, the people.
For you, the people that want a dummy mommy step on me, punch me, talk down to me.
That is not at all where I thought you were going.
Talk down to me, just be mean to me.
Can throw a right hook.
Yeah. But also like kind of be nice to me, but just be mean to me. They wrote Alita for those people. They had Scarlett Johansson in this movie. The sweet, sultry, super nice voice of Scarlett Johansson. Wonderful actress, multi-talented.
Yeah.
Wonderful woman. They got her in this role as the woman, as the female
Black Widow stand-in.
For the female character that's like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you, and I'm gonna kind of be your friend, and then I'm also gonna talk shitty to you, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was many people that were just like, oh yes, please be. I want to be Optimus Prime right now, just talking bad to me and hit me and just like tell me how much you hate me, and then also how much you're my friend.
All right.
That's that is my synopsis, and I will give you my feelings afterwards. But continue.
Now, given her characterization,
right,
how she's established,
of course,
as like this super ambitious, like cog in the machine,
100%.
protocol above anything else, would you not say that she acted appropriately in this
I do.
situation?
The thing is, the reason why I didn't want to be mad out the gate,
right,
is because the opening sequence that we see Alita come in, she is leading our two main characters through and is like kind of giving this like hoorah chant.
Right. I don't know what I've been told except I'm the greatest that's ever been.
Exactly. I want you to tell me who is the number one. And everyone's like, you are. It's like, hell yeah. I want to tell you who almost outdid all the mining records for this past quarter or whatever. And they're like, you are. Hell yeah. Who's the one who's going to get the promotion? You are. Right. That's what I'm talking about. Now let's get to work. And of course, the
not very inspiring.
The immediate next words out of Optimus's mouth was like, "Hey, like I think
I can drill all the way to Primus's core,
right.
And touch him myself."
And she says,
"You don't have the touch or the power."
Right. I apologize if I gave you the impression that we're friends.
Right.
That is the baseline.
She just does not care.
And so like I 100% get that. You want to lean into that character, make it happen.
Right.
For me was whenever they kind of started like
Optimus, he can turn anybody around.
I don't believe that. I mean, yes, I believe that Optimus can probably turn anybody around, but I think from a character perspective, on her behalf, I liked a lot of the choices they made, but there was a few times where I felt like, and I could have misunderstood the situation, and I could be thinking much more deeply about a child movie that I shouldn't have been. But there was a couple of times where I felt like they tried to give her this like soft, caring edge.
Tough love type deal.
Right. But it came across as
condescending.
Yes. And it made it feel disingenuous. And then it was like, I think it would have been better if instead of it being like mean, again, this is where it gets hard.
Mean.
That's what I'm saying. Do I have a better way to do it? I don't think so. I think they did go with what they did. I just think personally for me, it made it a little less believable, and it made me dislike the character more, that it felt like it came across to me that you were being fake genuine. It would have been better, I think, if you would have added a bit of comedy into it, and I think that's what they were trying to do. Was with the meanness,
just
they were trying to be comedic, but it came across as condescending, and kind of like, this is not the place for that. A little bit.
Yeah.
I'm just saying a little bit.
I mean, I get where you come from.
In a serious scenario, this is all hypothetical. Sometimes there has been moments whenever like a relative of someone passes. And sometimes I have noticed, and I always read the room, and I don't ever try to be disrespectful, but like sometimes there is some tension and if I care about the person enough, and if I'm good enough friends with them, sometimes like cracking a joke here and there kind of releases the tension, diffuses that situation. And I think it kind of allows people to go, yes, this is very sad, but like we're all here and we're all alive and well, and like we can all laugh and just for just a brief moment. It doesn't have to be forever, but like I've noticed with that, like, and that's just a correlation that I'm doing. There's a serious moment. Sometimes I think adding a little bit of comedy, just a little bit in there, sometimes I think rattles people up a little bit, and it helps them like understand the situation better. So and in the juxtaposition I'm going to do here with this is like in that same scenario, I wouldn't be mean and condescending. I wouldn't send jabs to my friend, because then that's kind of like, damn, bro, like I don't need you. Why are you being an asshole right now? Is what I would, how I think that conversation would go. Because this is a well-written movie, it doesn't play out that way.
See, that's the thing, though. In that same scene, Optimus says, first time giving a pep talk.
Right.
Which makes sense, because given how she's characterized, it would not... I would honestly believe that was her first time giving a fucking pep talk.
Right. But again, I hear you, but I think it still comes across as like, for me, it made it even worse that Optimus Prime is acknowledging the fact that like, damn, you're kind of shitting on me on a moment I don't need you to be shitting on me at, you know? She starts off the conversation, and like I told Dylan, I got kind of upset about this because it really feels like
paused the movie.
I paused because I really feel like Dylan is super nice, and I think he is too forgiving. If a friend of mine who was kind of like you know, jabby and angsty, and I'm in the moment right now of like the world is being turned upside down.
I lost two of my friends.
We got to figure out what we're going to do. I don't like the weight of the world is on my shoulders right now. I just woke up from being knocked out. Like, I don't know what's happening.
After saving you.
And so it's like, it's that kind of like, I'm trying to contextualize myself by putting, and like I said, and I'm willing to believe that I'm putting too much emotion into a kid's movie. I've done that before where I try to be super big brain and really adult about a kid's movie. And it's like, hey,
it ain't that deep.
Right. But I am that deep, and that's who I am, and I'm not going to apologize for that.
Right.
What I'm saying is, like, in that moment when I'm thinking of myself in that context, and even if I'm able to be kind of like a little more comedic, I'm like the last person I need to. And like the thing is, like, I think it would have translated better is even if she like would have been kind of, you know, kind of mean and jabby, and like tried her best but stumbled at it, then it would be more believable. But the fact that like Scarlett Johansson delivered these lines in a very believable way, she's like the character sending some jabs and being kind of mean,
and then like, just laying on the butter,
and then landed
straight up glazing this motherfucker.
Laying on some really like empowering and good stuff, and you're like, holy shit, I feel kind of inspired.
If somebody told me I was inspiring, I'd be like, who the fuck are you talking about?
And then, so what I'm saying is like, says some things that like are genuinely kind of inspiring to a person that feels like it's her friend, but I know that like they haven't really been super close friends. And then you're like, oh my God, like maybe she actually like kind of cares about him, and then says something shitty again, and you're like, damn, like what a bitch. and then of course it's like this kind of like this. It was hard for me to wrap my head around because I'm like, I feel very unhappy with what just transpired in that character, and so. But what I'm saying is, but I think the second I sat back and felt it for a second, I was like, the person that really enjoys a nice, attractive woman talking down to them and then also being nice to them and then talking down to them again, I know there's men out there that like that. It's not me. 100% not me.
Right.
And I think that's why when I started thinking about it, I was like, I'm not saying that they wrote that character for that, but I think that they know their audience well enough that they're like, we can write this kind of like brash woman that's like kind of like gung-ho, I'm going to do my own thing, and it's like kind of like, and I'll step on you in the process, and they know for a fact that shit's going to sell. Right. And I can almost guarantee you that it did. I don't think I was their demographic. And when I sat back and felt that, I was like, you know what? I do think they did a good job on the character that they presented. I just don't think she's for me.
Right.
And I can say that confidently. as an adult.
Man, as funny as that shit is, not quite the angle I would have taken.
Right, and that's okay. Everyone,
Oh,
please in the comments if I'm wrong, please tell me because I'm willing to be wrong. But that's just what it felt like. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying they're like 100%. Not saying they're sexualizing her.
Right.
I'm not saying that's what it is at all.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying that there were some archetypes. There were some correlating beliefs
that could have.
Yeah.
Shit.
If she was all black and had stilettos on, I'd be like,
Jesus
oh, okay.
Christ.
Now it's a bit too on the nose.
All right, sign me
Yeah,
up.
no,
Come on.
no. Wait a minute. No. What I'm saying is like that's what it felt like a little bit. Is that same kind of energy that those kind of people, you know.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's just what it felt like.
We have to talk about the scene before that.
Okay. Sorry.
The introduction of the Grand King.
Oh yeah.
Motherfucking Starscream.
Wow.
Star Buscemi.
Dude. Buscemi, dude.
Starscream is already one of my favorite characters just because of how like fucking Weasley and like stupid he is.
Oh yeah.
And he honestly he at first he comes off as somewhat competent, but also like it's Starscream.
100%.
Like he's straight up just constructed a throne out of garbage. And is just ruling over the High Guard, these ancient protectors of Cybertron.
Right.
Who have been like fighting a guerrilla war against Sentinel on the surface of the planet for the past 50 years.
Yeah.
And dude, as soon as I saw the motherfucker, not just him, but Shockwave and Soundwave.
Oh yeah, his right hand man,
dude,
right hand man.
They're the fucking best. That's like all three of my favorites,
right?
Excluding Megatron. But god damn, dude, every line from Shockwave is gold to me. Like, whenever Alita asks why B's mouth was bound. Like,
oh god,
he would not stop talking,
even with his mouth bound,
especially when he was unconscious.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
man.
funny.
Yeah, they got Soundwave's voice perfect.
Oh yeah,
with the fucking filter over it, man.
Great.
They're wonderful. They're my favorites, and they did them such justice.
They look very much like the original versions of them,
as they should.
Yeah, and it's really cool.
Perfect.
I really enjoyed the slow burn of Megatron.
Yeah.
I liked that at least it felt like it to me. I could be, again, I'm always willing to be wrong, but this is just what I felt watching it. Was obviously for me, whenever I realized it was Megatron, whenever you put that decal on him in like the first maybe 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm waiting for like the
heel turn,
the transformation to happen, and so I'm looking for it, and I like that. I feel like they didn't just blow it all in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
it
you
really
gotta work up to it,
and I liked that is that it didn't feel like they just threw all their chips in at the beginning.
Had one disagreement and then just fucking cut ties.
Right. It really felt like they were working up to that final moment that we'll get to in a minute. That like the final, the final words, which hit, and that's
Not
what
to
I
mention that, but the score too, dude,
100%.
the fucking music, beautiful.
I will say that it made the payoff at the end so much worth it, so much more worth it than I was expecting.
Oh yeah.
Because again, like I said, obviously we all know, so I feel like you have to.
It's a foregone conclusion.
Right. So it kind of is like we already know that Darth Vader's Luke's father, but how do we actually make it impactful?
How does it happen?
Right, and that's the thing is like this movie did a great job of like establishing that to where whenever that payoff happened, it was like, ooh, shit, that was good.
Oh yeah.
But the reason I'm saying all that is because even in like moments like this, there are these moments of dialogue where Megatron keeps like referencing the fact that like Optimus keeps getting them into like situations by like
getting them into trouble,
right?
Flying off the handle and just doing something, but like taking him along,
exactly.
Or tricking him into it, you know.
And even still, there's like a moment where he goes a little silent, and Optimus walks up to him and is like, "Hey, like, you know,
you've been a little quiet.
Yeah,
Are you okay?
Yeah, right." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm doing okay." and it still feels friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's like, are you thinking about what you're gonna say to Sentinel Prime whenever we give him this stuff? And he's like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm really thinking about it.
Yeah.
It feels like that bro like friendship where it feels more like, regardless of the kind of stuff they have gone through, like they're still really close with each other, and they're still really like, they may get pissed off, but Megatron's still like,
I got your back.
I'm still here, man. And then there's even that moment where they're walking around in the wilderness above the planet surface, and they're trying to like, find. They got knocked off the train, and so they're trying to find the cave on this map that they have. And there's a moment where like I was expecting Megatron to still be upset, and he was like, I think Optimus initiates the conversation with like, I'm so glad that you're out here with me.
Right.
And then Megatron's response is like, you know what, I'm actually really glad that I'm out here with you too. And it's like, whoa,
best decision I've ever made.
Oh, right. And it's like, oh man, like so there's like a little bit of that like, hopefulness, a little bit of this joy in this situations. It doesn't feel all sad, even though they may have gotten into a
there's
fight.
Hope.
Right. And that's what I'm talking about. It's like those little conversations in that scene up until this point that we're talking about, where after they learn what Sentinel Prime's really been doing.
Oh yeah, he's pissed.
Justifiably so. After
his
you realize,
life has been a lie.
After you realize you just realize that you are part of like slave labor. This ancient being tells you that like you were all born with these cores that like apparently you've never had
since you were born.
Right. So it's like, oh, and like that was also like kind of part of his doing. He like took
that from you too.
So he literally, you're learning for the first time that like you have been mutilated in a way to where you are restricted and forced to work in the mines
by someone you looked up to.
Yeah, by someone that was painted as like your savior, and it's like, oh man, that's a hard,
absolute retribution.
That's a hard pill to swallow for anybody, I would think. And so to think about it like that, and of course it doesn't help that like the big bad enemy that they keep referencing,
the quintessons,
right? You think that your hero is going above ground and fighting them, trying to find this core of leadership or whatever it's called, matrix of leadership. I was going to say matrix of authority. He's trying to find this thing just to witness him give all the energy that you mind to those bad guys and then kneel before them. It's like, oh man, it just, I'm going to talk about, it is like layer upon layer upon layer that like that for me, looking at that context, and then seeing Megatron just like go off the rails is like
absolutely lose it.
Totally justifiable in my mind.
Oh yeah,
of like, because at that point, dude,
I get it.
I get it.
Yeah, bro,
I get it. And of course, the other characters are trying to be a little more optimistic and like we have the information, we have proof.
We're gonna reveal it to the world,
and right,
everyone's gonna know how much of a shit that guy is.
Yep, and we're all gonna stand up and fight. And Megatron
like, nah, I'm gonna kill this motherfucker,
and I'm gonna kill him myself
slowly.
And it's like, oh, you know what?
All right,
it feels.
I get you.
It feels satisfying because you're like, I mean, just a little bit. It feels satisfying in that, like, I know it shouldn't be way.
Right.
I know I should be a bigger for me at least.
Oh no,
I try to be a bigger person. I try to be the more. I try to be a good guy.
I'm still going to kill you, but I'm going to do it in the bigger person way.
Right.
I may not execute you, but you're gonna be locked up for the rest of your life.
I try and
slowly die.
Try and be the good person. Try and do things right.
Hell, I might break your leg before I throw you in there.
There you go.
Just for me.
Yeah, just for me.
Right.
That one's for me.
Yeah.
But it really the reason I'm saying this is because it feels good in a bad way.
Right.
Whenever you see somebody
probably deserves every pain known to man,
you're like, ooh, yeah, it feels good to be mad, and it feels good to have a character who's just like,
revenge,
I'm gonna kill him.
Oh yeah.
So this is like that what I would call like the descent, like the heel turn kind of moment where we're like, okay, we're all mad.
Yep.
We're all sad. We're all confused. We now have new powers because ancient
Alpha
Trion gave us freaking gear cog.
Right. Transformation cogs.
Right. And so now we can transform and do all kinds of cool shit.
Megatron's a tank.
Oh, hell yeah. And it feels so good. He comes rolling up and blasting a motherfucker out, just blowing this dude up. And he's like, and
like, all right.
I'm just like, are you okay?
You good?
And he's like, good.
I'm great.
I ain't never been better, dude.
Oh,
Watch me do that again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Dude.
Man.
And again, I'm building upon this because I'm talking about this scene with Starscream.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's built up this kind of like angst, this frustration, this anger with this whole situation. And of course he gets,
like, oh, what's that? An outlet on a throne. It's perfect. I've got a good feeling about you, lackey.
And the confidence, the arrogance, the audacity.
You are either lying or you're stupid. I'm stupid. I'm stupid. It will forever be one of my favorite exchanges between the two.
Yeah. This is the first time where, again, like Dylan had mentioned, we see Starscream. He's on this throne and he has his guys.
Right.
And then they're talking about, Optimus is trying to be the good guy, and he's like, "Hey, man, we're like all on the same side.
We're on the same team,
bro. We're fighting for the same thing. We just found out what's happening, and like,
Starscream's like, nah, we do it harder though.
Yeah.
And he's like, the only thing that matters is the strength of one bot over another. Right. So already that's a red flag. It's like, all right, given your circumstances, I could understand how you come to that conclusion. However, before you do that,
right,
just have a listen, please. And then Megatron just gets up and is like, I'm fucking out of here.
He literally starts walking away. Yeah. I mean, the most badass thing to do at that moment. Just like, I mean, I would say badass, but like, I mean, really just.
Like, I ain't having this.
I don't like
this is a waste of my time. I've got a bot to kill.
The only thing I can say is audacity. Like,
the gall,
and I
the
love
gumption,
and in a good way. The Lion, the Witch, and the audacity of this bitch. So anyway, Starscream is like, "Yo,
where the fuck are you going?
Where are you going, bud?" And he's like, "I don't gotta stay here.
I ain't gonna pussyfoot in a fucking junkyard, pretending to fight the good fight when I'm just giving him a little pinch and then running away."
Yep.
Glorified ding dong ditch.
Yeah. And then, of course, dude, there's this beautiful interaction between Megatron and Starscream where, they're in each other's faces. And he's like, I want to see you try kind of moment. Right. He's like, I forgot what he says exactly, like, starts the fight, but it was like, it was good.
It was like, nobody leaves this place unless I say so.
That's what it is.
And then Megatron's like, how are you going to do that with my head in your teeth?
Yeah.
And then he just straight up headbutts the motherfucker.
Hell yeah. There's this, and I loved the character swap that happens. There's this moment where Starscream is like psychotic.
Oh yeah,
and he's like, "Hit me, dude, hit me!" He punches the shit out of him, and he's like, "Is that all you got?" Right. And he starts like beating the shit out of him,
wailing on the dude.
and like starts strangling him. And I was like, and then of course his
voice box.
Yeah, his voice box starts changing. I was like, oh my god! And he's like, "That's all you got." Right. And it's like, oh man! And then of course he's about
to like throw the final blow, but a fucking cannon forms on the forearm. The classic look.
And it's so intimidating.
He's about to kill him too.
He's about to kill him,
like straight up.
And then he before he does anything else, he like drops him, turns around, and proceeds to like rile up all the other guys, all of like Starscream's lackeys, and then like goes right back at it and like shoves the barrel in Starscream's face. And the automatic, I mean, I mean, immediate, like, oh no, please have mercy.
I beg you.
Please, I beg you, please. And it's like, and I didn't find
Like,
it.
there he is.
I didn't find it funny because it felt so genuine.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like you went from being like, on top to like kind of psychotic to now you're like begging for your life. It's like, oh man, that was a very quick descent, and it felt natural and real of like a man who's wearing a mask of a king,
right?
But it quickly gets knocked off.
Coronation Starscream.
Yeah,
this is bad comedy.
Yeah.
Oh,
so, anyways, and it's just this moment where like, and then also it doesn't help that all of the companions, Elita, Optimus Prime, they're all like, "Hey, yo, bud,
calm it down a
damn,
bit.
now you're about to kill a man. Holy shit,
Right.
Slow down."
Yeah.
Yeah. So it gets very real.
That's another crazy thing, man.
Yeah.
At this point, he's never killed anybody.
Yeah.
As opposed to the fucking bloodthirsty murderer he is.
Right.
Or will become.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then like then we talked about there's this whole interaction where
they're found out and they are raided by Sentinel's lackeys,
and that's whenever. So after the aftermath of all that whole situation, B and Megatron are both taken by Sentinel Prime's goons,
right?
And then it's just Elita and Optimus in a field,
right? And they have
rubble.
They have to recruit the fucking Decepticons. Oh man,
it's good stuff.
So fucking cool. Seeing
It's great.
All these characters interact in ways that I'm not used to.
I will say it is fun. It is a fun movie.
Oh yeah,
and it's enjoyable. Yeah. So, anyways, okay.
All right, we're coming up to it.
Yeah,
man.
we're coming up to it. Yeah.
We get back to D and B in Sentinel's Tower. What?
I didn't realize it was already an hour. So.
Oh fuck. Okay,
you're good to go.
Anyway, we get back to Sentinel's Tower. Sentinel is like giving them a rundown of what he's going to do to them and how they'll be remembered as a bunch of traitors.
Yeah,
and how he's going to publicly execute them. Megatron's having none of it. He gets up, and Sentinel's like, "What the fuck?
Yeah,
what you doing?
You feeling cocky? Are you?"
Right. It's like, I'm not kneeling in front of you.
No.
And dude. This is one of the moments where like he's gone. Like, I'm not afraid of you. You want to know why? Because I got nothing left to lose.
Oh man, Brian Henry voices Megatron.
Does a fantastic job.
And I mean that moment right there specifically, where he says that, where he's like, because you've taken everything else from me. It was like, so like there was some real feeling in that.
Cutting.
Yeah. And he's got his arms, bound behind his back, and Sentinel Prime like pushes him down.
He's like, I sure did, and then just
punches the shit out of him. And then mocks him for having the Megatronus sigil on his arm.
Oh man.
And this is what I'm talking about. This is where it's like, this is the villain origin story right here. He's like
about to have the scar to match.
Yeah. Well, he takes off the decal, like rips it off, and he's like, you know what, buddy? Like, I understand why you liked him so much, because I mean, he was the biggest and the strongest. That's why whenever I killed him, I took his
cog for myself.
Yep.
Motherfucker's got it in his
chest.
And
it's like, ooh, you son of a bitch.
Oh yeah.
Because like Megatron has really like idolized him in a way. It's like, his guy. So like to really hear that, it's like
he's just adding fuel to his fucking fire,
man. And then, like I said, make matters worse, he like takes this like welding torch. And he's like, let's go ahead and put it on you permanently.
Right. Make sure it doesn't come off.
Brands it on his chest, like a very like scuffed up scroll.
Like with a fucking plasma torch.
Yeah. And it's like, man, you're really digging your own grave there, Sentinel.
Does he ever, man?
Oh, man.
Watching that we'll get there.
We'll get there.
Anyway, so Optimus is able to rally the troops. He goes and visits the miners who are currently being fucking berated by Darkwing.
Yeah.
And he just decks him so hard, sends him into the fucking arcade machine.
Hell yeah.
And this is like primo Optimus Prime shit.
100%.
The most inspiring motherfucker you will ever know.
Yeah.
Every word out of this dude's mouth just makes you want to get up and do something.
Hell yeah.
It's perfect. So he gets to the miners, convinces them to help, gives them all the tools they need.
Right.
And they link up with Alita, Shockwave, and Soundwave
Yep.
in a fucking train on its way to Sentinel's tower. After which they are able to just carve their way through, crash into the tower.
Right.
Right before Megatron is about to be executed. And from that point on, they are able to single out a Sentinel after, like, he and Megatron duke it out in the tower after Optimus and Alita go to transmit the proof from Arachnid's memory. Dude, I fucking love Arachnid's design in this.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's
Very
gorgeous.
cool,
It's
yeah.
got the best look
Yeah.
in the whole movie, at least to me. But once they beat her ass thoroughly, they're able to just broadcast the whole truth. And everybody's up in arms.
Right.
They're fucking pissed.
Of course.
But Megatron just happens to tackle Sentinel out of his own tower after this revelation.
Oh, dude, there's this moment where Sentinel's on the balcony, like, looking out at what's like transpiring, and like Megatron is now free of his bindings and like takes that like
Oh yeah.
and just like goes in for a whole run and just like just bodies that dude and knocks him off the balcony, and it's like, oh shit.
Oh yeah. They crash onto like some sort of like centerpiece building, and he's just laying him out.
Oh yeah.
Like Sentinel is basically dead already.
Oh yeah.
And he, of course, he pulls the classic like, "Wait, we can work together."
Yeah. We could rule all this together.
Yeah. As if, bro. After all the shit you've done, after what you just did, I don't fucking think so.
Nah, dude.
So,
the desperations of a dying man.
Dude, you
100%.
try anything.
I mean, at that point, you could try anything, but hey,
it ain't gonna save you.
Yeah, no. Have some dignity as you die.
So, Megatron's just firing shots all over the dang place. Arms a little busted up. And he is on a warpath.
Yeah.
Optimus is able to, like, right in the nick of time, stop him.
Right.
And this is my favorite fucking exchange in the whole movie. Of course, Megatron's like, "Why the fuck are you trying to stop me?" It's like, man, it's over. We won, all right? He's as good as dirt anyway. It's fine. You don't got to kill him. And he's like, he deserves to die for what he's done.
Yeah.
After everything he's taken from us. But man, if I were Optimus, I would have said, and he will, he is going to die, but we're not going to kill him.
Right.
I feel like that would have at least somewhat helped.
Maybe, but I think
comparing him to Sentinel, that's what fucking did it.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's what did it, but at the same time, it's also I think a person that feels so personally hurt by what Sentinel did, even if you would have said, I think you're right, but even if you would have said he's going to die for what he did, but we're not going to be the ones to kill him, I think that's the point where I think he's like, but I
have to do it.
I deserve this. And it's like,
it's just the crumb of hope that was within my heart.
You're right. And that's what I'm saying. You're not wrong, because I do think that probably you can say that I think that we will all come to a conclusion.
Yeah.
But for a person like that feels so personally hurt, I have spoken not in the same thing of like want someone to die, but like they feel so personally hurt by it that like they need to be the ones to do it, because they I think people believe. I've even believed this myself. You believe that by doing that, it's going to make you feel better, but it doesn't.
Yeah. The classic trope.
But it's very true. It's a classic trope for a reason, because you think it's going to satisfy you, but it never quite does. The revenge never feels quite as satisfying as you would have hoped.
Yeah.
But boy, does it look like it, though,
dude. Yeah.
And in this sequence, it really does.
Oh yeah. Before Megatron is able to like land the final blow, and after he like snaps and just like straight up decks, like starts fighting Optimus, and just like gets him on the ground before he's able to shoot, Optimus jumps in front of his shot
Yeah.
at, and it just destroys him.
Mm-hmm.
His entire left side is in pieces.
Right.
And man, you want to talk about gut-wrenching.
Dude.
Optimus is about to fall into the planet.
Yeah.
And Megatron just grabs him by the wrist. It's like,
why?
Why did you do that?
Why?
And he's like on the verge of tears. And the
Mhm.
more he like looks at him, the more you can see him like thinking and like changing his
Yeah.
mind. It's just, it's heartbreaking to
It
me.
is, because that there in that moment is the most human emotions that I think I can be portrayed in an animated movie in some way.
Yeah.
The voice was so good, but it's also the facial expressions of these robots is so unique. So like in that moment where he's feeling all those feelings,
I just shot my best friend.
yeah, and it's like the actual like panic of it all, the sadness, the grief, and then the slow turn to anger, and then
rage.
And then, dude, the line that hit me so hard, because it was something that he had said numerous times, or something, you know, in line with what he said a couple times in the movie. He looks at me, he says, "I'm tired of saving you."
Done.
And then lets go of him.
Oh yeah, just lets him fall.
And it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple of times in the movie where like, even the first interaction that we see in this film,
Oh yeah,
with Megatron actually like saving Optimus in some way, it's like he's really getting him out of a lot of tough times all the time, but not anymore.
Nope. Straw that broke.
And then of course Optimus has this slow fall into the planet. I have a feeling I know what's going to happen. I had a feeling.
Oh yeah,
because we know that like this matrix that we're all searching after, we learned through our old guy in the cave that like it disappeared because it found Sentinel not worthy. You have to
it's
be
one
worthy.
of them Swords of Godric Gryffindor type deals.
You have to be able to be worthy for it to be wielded, and if you're not, then it'll just vanish.
Right.
Which is why he was quote unquote trying to find it. But
Yeah.
you know, so anyways.
See doodles.
So yeah. But Megatron goes back over to what's left of Sentinel Prime.
Yeah. Oh, his lackeys come to his defense, and he's just tearing them apart.
Oh, dude. Laying into him.
Oh, yeah. He finally gets his hands on Sentinel, lifts him up,
Oh, yeah.
and then just eviscerates him over his head.
Tears him right in half.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And then in the most like gladiator, like Viking-esque thing to do, goes over to his chest,
rips Megatronus's core out.
Yeah, and then raises it in the air and goes, "Who's with me?" And it's like, oh shit. Yeah, has this very real moment of like, you know, just bolstering his troops to his cause in that way. Takes out his old core, puts the new one in, transforms it into an even bigger version of himself.
Oh yeah, and he just starts laying waste.
Oh yeah,
destroying everything,
shooting everything.
Yeah. At which point, Alita and B move to like stop him, but of course it's fucking Megatron.
Yeah, there's nothing they can do.
You can't do anything. But as this is happening,
oh, and he also at that moment too, whenever he transfers it out, and of course he gets all transformed, he says the magic words of "I am Megatron."
Oh yeah.
And it's like, oh hell yeah.
Final form achieved.
Yeah.
But as Optimus is still like falling through to the core of the planet, he encounters Primus in one form or another. He is reviewed and acknowledged by the ghosts of the Primes. After which Alpha Trion dubs him Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
And dude, as soon as he is resurrected, he shoots like a fucking missile.
Yep.
Back up to the surface of the planet. And before Megatron is about to like punch B's face in, he explodes onto the surface. And he looks perfect.
He looks so good. And then I love the interaction of like Megatron looks over and is like, I can't believe this. Impossible.
Yeah.
You were given the matrix of is it power?
Leadership.
You're given the matrix of leadership. He gave it to you.
Right.
And what the heck?
We could have built the future together.
Yeah. Dude, it's just so it's so good. It's so good, and then I love the way this movie ends.
Yeah.
They get this whole fight sequence. It's so beautiful.
Oh
They
yeah,
start
Optimus
shooting
straight
around.
up one-man armies.
Oh, dude.
The entirety of the Decepticons.
And it's just this whole fight sequence until, there's going to be this like final blow moment, or like you can tell like the defeat is imminent.
Mm-hmm.
And then Optimus stops and is like,
we were given the power to change our world, and
Yep.
you chose to destroy it.
Yep.
Just like Sentinel.
Yep. And it's like, oh man.
You betrayed Cybertron and its citizens, but most of all, you betrayed me.
Yeah.
And fucking hell,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. It's good.
Oh my god.
It's really good. And then of course, I mean, in a true I would say a great leader looks over there and he says, what is the group called?
The High Guard.
The High Guard.
Mm-hmm.
He's like,
Take the High
yourself-
Guard and leave.
Yep. Take your High Guard and leave.
Banished
You're
from
banished.
Icon City.
And it's like, oh man. Because he still feels like this young, youthful character.
Mm-hmm.
But in that moment, for me at least, saying those words and like making that final decision, because now like you're the leader.
Oh yeah.
You have the Matrix. You are the guy,
De facto.
de facto leader, and your first like order is like, take you and all your lackeys. You're banished from this planet.
Yeah.
And saying it in such a matter of fact way, it's like, oh shit, that's a real grown up.
rough.
It's a real grown up thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, what is it called? The blue goop starts
Energon.
flowing. The energon starts
Yep.
flowing from the fountains,
Mhm.
lighting up the whole world, and
The planet
everything's
is now
all-
alive again.
Yeah. And then we get this cool sequence of all of them running,
Right.
and then the famous last words of, I am Megatron.
Right.
And of course, I love the vocal effect they put on his voice.
Oh yeah, dude.
They did like some really cool vocody thing with like a
Mhm.
little, it's a cool vibe. It was fun.
I was not expecting Chris Hemsworth
Yeah.
for Optimus fucking Prime.
Right.
Because as far as I was concerned, Peter Cullen is
Oh yeah.
irreplaceable. Like, he will never not be Optimus Prime to me.
Right.
But he does a damn good job.
He does.
But man, I think this was a pretty good movie.
I think so too.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Very good job.
Mm-hmm.
Who would have thought that Thor could also be Optimus Prime?
Right.
But hey, here we are.
Mm-hmm.
What a world we live in.
Yeah.
Crazy. Crazy. So yeah.
I got some crazy taxis on this planet.
100%. So, we've gone a bit over, but
Oh,
that's
yeah,
okay. Hey, is what it
I have
is.
to apologize.
No. We're good. People, I think, enjoy some of this, and I think we had a lot of things to say about this movie.
Oh yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's all worth it. It's a great movie.
Dear.
Again, thank you all for listening to this show, and getting involved and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, I think there's a handful of you guys that haven't subscribed or followed us, so please do that. So that way you can be up to
If you
date
want
whenever
to.
we. No, not if you want to. Do it.
You
Just-
have to.
It's easy. It's just a button push or a little tap on your screen. Just
I'll make you.
well, now you're getting. It's a bit aggressive, but okay.
You're the
so-
one that's
So watch
denied
out.
if you
Just
want to.
Just watch
We
out.
took the freedom of choice out of that
Okay.
equation.
Well, I guess you're right. He's going to force you now. But anyways, like I said before, there's a couple of different platforms. Spotify is apparently like doing a whole bunch of new stuff with like videos.
Really?
Yeah, Spotify's trying to cash
Branching
in.
out
It's trying to
a bit,
cash in on YouTube. Is what they're doing.
Oh,
They're
I
trying their
see.
best. They're, from what I've heard, from what I'm seeing in the background, all you guys that are fond of Spotify, just know they're going to be having some cool new stuff there. So, anyways, comment, whichever place you want to do that in.
The whole shebang.
The whole shebang. You know where to find us mostly. It's the Aftermath. The only thing that's different is usually our YouTube at Hindsight Studios. You can find some of the videos we made. You can both the podcasts and all that stuff. Podcasts. I'm hoping to get Ethan on this show again.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty soon to be a lot of fun. We can watch
Mhm.
something else. But anyways, until next time, thank you so much for listening.
See ya.
Goodbye.